And welcome into the first half of the Week 3 Countdown Show. I'm your host, Ian Power, joined as always by Matt Vitale and sporadically by Frankie Santiago. He has decided to grace us with his presence today.
Sidebar, this is really good.
I've never had it. Yeah, actually, I haven't sipped it yet. Yeah, that is good. Not what I was expecting for a can that's a double IPA. While we're on the subject of beer, I'll show it off for the camera. Today we are drinking Night Shift, a local brewery here in the Boston area. This one's called Work Zone. It is a New England double IPA with tangerine peel. It's pretty solid. I could drink a lot of this.
It is all right.
Oh, you don't like IPAs, Vitalis. So you don't. Your opinion here is like you have to take whatever you did and like shift it one position down the liking or disliking scale. Like if an IPA is all right to you, then it's probably a pretty good beer.
No, I am just of a different camp. It's like me differing from Frankie in my love for my distaste for Aaron Jones.
Just Aaron Jones.
Players that start with A. Vitaly hates
all of them. Well, I mean, because Frankie basically loves everyone that has an A for the name.
Yeah, Alan Lazard.
Before we dive into the episode, make sure to follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube, hit that notification bell, share us with all of your friends, relatives, bitter rivals, just across the board, especially if they're not in your fantasy league, because the more exposure we get, the more content we can create, and the better information we can bring for you folks at home. A little bit of news before we dive into the show today. Devontae Adams missed practice. He sounds like he's going to be a game time decision. He might not play this week, so if you're a Devontae Adams owner, make sure that you have a backup plan for him. Galladay, fully back at practice, expected to play. Great to hear if you're a Galladay owner because you've been, treading water with him. Hopefully you've been able to survive not having him to this point. Because he might have been your first receiver drafted in a lot of leagues.
100%.
This one's going to be a little sketchy because it's a Thursday game. Chark limited practice yesterday, didn't practice today. So he's playing Thursday, obviously. Jaguars, Miami should be a really good matchup if he goes. So I'm not afraid to play Chark if he's rolling out there, but he's someone that you're going to have to watch prior to kickoff because I imagine Chark's going to be a game time decision. A.J. Brown also probably going to be a game time decision. Says he has a bone bruise. He missed practice today. It's something you can play through, but I don't know if they're going to have him do it, especially with how good they looked without him. They might just give him rest. Devonta Freeman likely was picked up by someone last night. If you didn't get him, that's probably okay because he signed with the Giants, so his fantasy prospects are going to be limited. I mean, you guys aren't really upset if you didn't get him now that he's officially with the Giants, right?
No, with how poor Saquon looked, I don't think Devonta Freeman's going to do that much better. So I'm just kind of out on their running game.
Yeah, that offensive line does not look good.
Devonta Freeman didn't look good the last time that we saw Devonta Freeman. So.
Honestly, the Giants as a whole, the offense just doesn't look good. So I'm avoiding pretty much everybody there that's still healthy.
Sure. And then two good newses to close off the news. Godwin logged a full practice today after being activated from the concussion protocol, so that's great to see. You love to see guys come back and just get right back into the swing of things after getting a concussion. So he'll be a full go this weekend. And then Kittle was able to log a limited practice today. If Kittle's practicing in a limited fashion, I imagine that he's going to try and give it a go this weekend. They might make him a game time decision, but I'd be surprised if he doesn't play.
Yeah, that man is a trooper out there. Even right after the injury, you saw he wanted to just get right back on the field.
As someone who has a couple shares of Kittle this year, I really would like him to get back on the field as well. So I'm in that camp. Kittle, don't hurt yourself trying to get back on the field. But if you can get back out there, please. My fantasy teams need it.
Yeah, I have him in Dynasty, so I prefer if he didn't try and get out there super fast because.
Also, I tweeted about this week, but speaking of our fantasy teams needing players to play. Guys, I know it's second nature for some of you after an injury, but don't tweet at players because someone performed badly or, heaven forbid, got hurt. Like, they're already dealing with the repercussions of that. They don't want to or care about your gripes about them costing you a fantasy week because after they've either played badly or had a season-ending injury in some cases. Like, it's a bad look for fantasy football as a whole. Just even if you're fuming over it, just vent internally or yell to your league mates. Don't at players on Twitter.
Yeah, Todd Gurley will get at you too about that.
They should. It's a really. It's like I don't want to sound like my parents, but it's poor manners.
Yeah, that's still one of my favorite tweets of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always a poor look, but I think we also, as fantasy managers, also get the reverse of it, where sometimes a player's like, I don't care about your fantasy matchup, or like teams kind of put it in the face of managers, like the Cardinals when they still had DJ, talking about how they didn't care that they didn't tell everyone that DJ was going to be sat that game out of nowhere.
Well, but that all stems from fantasy managers bitching at players and coaches on Twitter because they're costing them fantasy matchups. It's like it's just they don't care. Like, they're out there doing their job, just like you wouldn't like it if David Johnson owns you in a fantasy accountant league, like. And you don't hit your quarterly goal for TPS reports or something. You wouldn't want them tweeting at you. Don't tweet at them. It's that simple. It makes us look better as a whole as fantasy players. It makes the players like us more, and there actually are a healthy bit of new players coming into the younger players coming into the league who actually do care about fantasy football. Like, don't spoil it. Don't turn them against us.
Yeah, Cortland.
Don't turn the Kittles and Jujus of the world against us.
I did think it was kind of ironic and sad. Cortland Sutton, I remember one of the first things I saw in the NFL app was him saying like, "Yeah, I can't wait to
There was a lot of that this
bring
year.
you guys a successful fantasy season," and then he's done for the year.
There was a lot of that this year. Like I said, I don't want to see that go by the wayside because fantasy managers are chirping them on Twitter about sucking in matchups or getting hurt. So that was just an aside. I just wanted to get that out there before we launch into things because, especially with the amount of injuries we had in week 2, there's been a lot more of that than I usually see. So
yeah, it was a killing field out there.
Yeah. All right. Let's launch into the meat and potatoes of the show here. We got 7 matchups to break down for you guys today. The Thursday game and then a bunch of the 1 p.m. games. We're going to lead it off with Jaguars-Dolphins, a 48-point over-under. So a pretty healthy total. Sounds like Las Vegas doesn't really expect defense to be played in this game, and I kind of agree with them. I mean, we just saw the bearded one and Teal Steel kind of throw it all over the field last week. Obviously not playing against each other, but I'm kind of looking forward. Ryan Fitzpatrick's always fun to watch. Same with Gardner Minshew. They're two guys that are easy to root for. This actually should be on paper, it looks like a garbage matchup, but I think this will actually be a pretty fun Thursday game to watch.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, they both put up numbers against what are regarded as some of the better defenses in the league.
I mean, I think the Bills are kind of overrated, but...
I still buy in on the Bills, but as far as this matchup goes, I can see it. I think it's just going to be like a competitive but sloppy game. Like, we're going to see a fair amount of turnovers and just...
It's two bad teams slugging it out, but...
Yeah. Like, this one could produce out of nowhere for fantasy managers, like on both sides of the ball. I'm more interested in the Jag side, so I'm hoping for Chark to play in this one. But, no, this one could still just be a fun one to watch as you just see two whatever caliber teams you want to put them at. Just kind of...
Call them bottom third.
Yeah. Just kind of slapping it on the field and seeing what comes out.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm unfortunately on the opposite side of that one as I have myself with 2 Dolphins.
Situation you never want to be
in. I mean, it's Gesicki and Parker, which are...
Those are the 2
Dolphins. If anything,
the
2 Dolphins that you want to own. And, I mean, Gesicki looked real good last week. Like, just watching that game, I mean, it's clear that he's probably the favorite target on that offense.
So let's run through the players in this game. Obviously, if you need a streaming QB, you're willing to stream either of these QBs, I imagine, if you don't have a better option.
I'll go with Teal Steel. I probably would look elsewhere if I'm looking at the beard. I think there's just other quality streamers that are out there.
Okay.
Like we talked about, like Ryan Tannehill.
If you missed out on all the other ones, if he's sort of the only option, are you okay rolling him out?
it's not the worst, but I'm not happy. Like, this would have to be like maybe a deep league or a 2 QB league
Sure.
where I'm looking at him like
You're waiting for that Fitzmagic blow up game.
Yeah.
Where he goes from Fitzmagic to Fitztragic.
Yeah, I'm not really. If I'm stuck starting him, I'm fine. I'm definitely not happy about it. Like
Sure.
I would much rather have a lot of other people.
And then for the skill positions, you're starting James Robinson. If DJ Chark plays, you're starting him. You're probably starting Keelan Cole regardless because he's been actually, performing pretty well to start the year. If DJ Chark misses, you're definitely starting him.
Yeah.
Are you starting anyone else from the Jags? Aside from those 3 skill position players?
probably not. No.
And then on the Dolphins side of the ball, it's Gesicki definitely. Are you like locked and loaded starting anyone aside from Gesicki?
I mean, probably.
I do rope Devontae Parker into that category where just because he's been banged up to start the year, do you roll, even if he's good to go for this game? Do you roll him out there?
Yeah.
Short week.
He looked good against Buffalo last week. I mean, granted, he played through whatever ailment he had. I mean, it was more of they had a concern going into that game, and it didn't look like it hampered him. So I mean,
Sure, but on a short week, he has less time to sort of rest that up. He can't pull the Julio Jones and just sit the hammy for the week and then roll out there again on Sunday. Are you worried that the short week could slow Devontae Parker down at all today?
No, and I think that they're, I would say, a lesser offense than the Bills. So I don't think, not to discredit the Jags, I don't think he's gonna have to work as hard for those points.
That's fair. That's fair.
For me, I'm probably a little bit off on Parker just because injury, Thursday night game, you're on the road. I am still interested in Gaskin mainly because of the amount of injuries that just happened. So
Sure.
he's a guy, if we're talking week 2, if we're going into week 2 and this was the matchup, I'd probably say you're probably okay to sit him. But with the lack of depth right now at running back, you might need to just roll out Gaskin. And
Let's talk about how wild it is that Gaskin is their starting running back. Not Jordan Howard, the guy they signed, or Matt Breida, the guy they traded for.
yeah.
It's no lie, hadn't even heard of Miles. I had to look up who he was.
I gotta be honest, until week 2, I didn't know who Myles Gaskin was.
That's what I'm saying. You would think that it would be Jordan Howard or Matt Breida, both running backs who have had some degree of success in the NFL in their own right over the course of their careers, but nope, it's this random guy who I believe was like a 6th or 7th round pick, just rolling out there. We talk about, or specifically you talked about, coaches who infuriate you at the running back position, and I'm kind of willing to put Brian Flores there at this point because while no one was expecting big things for Jordan Howard, he's at least being drafted to be he's at least going to get you, 15 touches and 80 yards. Not even that.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a couple of guys you like and you're trying to get cute with at the end of drafts, especially in deep leagues. Like, for me, it was like Eno Benjamin. I was like, I like the offense. If for some reason the reports coming out of from the beat writers that, the job is not as locked in as everyone wants it to be,
sure.
maybe Eno Benjamin's a guy you just hold and see if either injuries or whatnot just vault this 7th rounder who was supposed to be a top 100 pick in the draft into the starting spot. But no, Myles Gaskin never crossed my reports, and from the amount of research and whatnot I was doing, not a lot of analysts were looking at him either.
I will amend my Devontae Parker take. I just looked him up just to see what was going on. As of 3 hours ago, he actually was removed from the injury report. So if he's fully healthy, I am all in on starting Parker and Gesicki this week.
Yeah,
Agreed.
that's what I was gonna say. Is he had that questionable tag carried through that game, but it was more of like a precautionary questionable tag rather than a.
Well, he had it until today.
Yeah.
I was under the impression that he was carrying that into this game. If the Dolphins are saying that he's fully healthy, I'm all in for starting Gesicki and Parker and almost no one else unless I have to. Yeah. Moving on to the next game on our list here. It's going to be at least a fun one to watch from a local perspective, just because I love watching. I was talking to Frankie about this earlier. Cam Newton's so much fun to watch. Especially after 20 years of Brady. Don't get me wrong. I loved watching Brady. I liked winning, but the Brady style of football is boring. Getting to watch Cam Newton just be our leading running back and our quarterback. It's so much more fun. But Patriots Raiders 48-point over under. I can't imagine you're really starting any Patriots in this game aside from Cam Newton. Raiders are you're pretty much just starting Derek Carr if you need him, but hopefully you don't. And then definitely Josh Jacobs and Darren Waller. I mean, is there anyone that I'm missing there that you guys are willing to roll out this week?
I mean, Jules is probably still getting played for most people because you spent the investment on him.
Sure, I guess Jules is someone who I wouldn't be afraid to sit this week, but it's not a bad matchup, so I guess I'd roll Jules out there.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be a sneaky shootout, especially the way that Saints game turned out. None of the Raiders receivers really looked great, and a couple of them were banged up. It's pretty much Cam, Jules, the usual suspects.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a game where it's how can the Patriots stop Josh Jacobs, and how the Patriots options line up against that Raider defense, which, yes, they did spend an investment in, but I'm still not scared of it. So honestly, like I said, for me, if you need him, I would go with N'Keal Harry in the flex spot here, just because, he got 12 targets in that last game. So
sure,
him and Cam are developing a rapport I like, and I think he's someone who could pay out for this week.
Sure. Actually, and as far as DraftKings goes, I was actually going to say I do actually really like N'Keal Harry on DraftKings this week because he's only 4,200. And Cam Newton, I think could be if you're looking for a GPP quarterback, Cam Newton could be an excellent choice. He's 6,700, so and the Raiders on paper are 6th against the quarterback, so people could be scared off of him based on price and matchup. But if you look at how they are against the running back, they're 29th against the running back, and Cam gets it done on the ground more than through the air. So Cam Newton is. I'm more excited about this game from a GPP perspective than I am from a redraft perspective because I'm probably going to have I'm probably going to overweight the field on Cam Newton this week. I think he could have himself a field day against the Raiders. We could see maybe 100 yards and 2 on the ground against the Raiders. Wouldn't shock me. So Cam's definitely the play I'm most excited about in this game.
Yeah, it's really weird to just see Bill Belichick and a quarterback that can actually run on the sidelines. We were talking about this in the car this morning. It's as not a Patriots fan, I hate this.
The Patriots fans are buying in completely too. They're already talking about when are we going to sign this guy to a long-term deal? Like Patriots fans they've found their new love, and it's Cam Newton has replaced Tom Brady in New England's hearts.
Oh no, it's called fun football.
Yeah.
Yeah, people were talking about it. The big thing that we were all hoping and worried about with Cam was his investment, because we know he can be a little bit of a head case, and like some Browns players like OBJ, if he can be a bit of a prima donna, but he is buying in 100%. And that's what Patriots fans love.
He came out and said that he's made a ton of money in his career. He's playing for respect at this point. I do think it's kind of hard to be a prima donna on a Bill Belichick team, because Bill Belichick certainly has the coaching resume to make you sit your ass down if you're trying to act up on his team.
Yeah, and if you act up, he'll send you to Cleveland.
Yeah, well, that too. If anyone is going to rein in unruly players, it's Bill. But it seems like Cam doesn't need to be reined. He's, by all accounts, he's meshing very well with the team. He's great in the locker room. The players love him. It seems like Josh and Bill love him. As a Patriots fan, I'm excited to see what he can do with this team. And as a fantasy football fan, I love seeing old school Cam Newton back. This seems like Cam Newton from a few years back before he got all those injuries, when he was just making a case for the number one fantasy quarterback. Let's jump to the next game here. One that I guess I'm excited for from one side of it. The Falcons have been fun to watch as well this season, but it's a 47.5 point total. This feels like one of those games where we talk about where it's a 47 point total basically, and I feel like 36 of that's going to the Falcons, because I really don't know how the Bears keep up with them in this game. Sure, the Falcons' defense is crap, but so is Trubisky.
Yeah, honestly, this is going to be one where it's going to be the Falcons' side of the ball that determines the game. If the Bears at all have a shot at this, their defense needs to step up and be the Bears they were last year at the start of the year. I could see some.
I just don't know how they cover the Falcons. The Falcons are a matchup nightmare. Todd Gurley can still make you pay on the ground. Julio Jones is the best receiver in football. Calvin Ridley is making defenses pay because they can't not cover Julio.
I think you mean
Hayden
second-
Hurst is a matchup nightmare. I mean, he's too big and fast for any one player to cover over the middle. Russell Gage is, I don't think he's anything special, but he's more than good enough to perform with all of the other like skill players he has around him. I mean, like, I don't know how you make the Falcons stop doing what they're doing.
Yeah, it does kind of suck that for other teams that the Falcons now have a second Julio Jones named Calvin Ridley. It's
I mean, I don't think he's as good as Julio, but I think he is a very talented receiver who benefits a lot from having Julio on his team. A lot like Juju did when he was playing alongside Antonio Brown, and there was no answer for them all season. You know, that was the year you saw Juju and Antonio finish in the top 10 wide receivers.
Yeah, I think the only way you don't beat these guys in your secondary, you beat them in the front seven. Like
Make Matty Ice panic.
Yeah, make Matty Ice panic and start. Like Khalil Mack has to step up and be the leader of this team. If he can start putting, it doesn't matter how good of a quarterback you are. If you're laying down, you can't hit the ball. You can't throw the ball downfield.
Sure. I think if Khalil Mack hits Matty Ice a couple times early, you get him seeing ghosts out there. You can probably shake him.
That lines look so good though. Like just because I obviously watched last week because it was against my Cowboys, and shout out to them.
Yeah.
But no, even the game before that line looked really good this year. I mean, definitely.
I mean, they were one of those lines where there was a couple question marks because they had those two rookies from last year, both of whom missed significant chunks, if not all of the season. I don't have their names in front of me right now, but I know I broke them down a little bit in the offseason. And everyone was like, if they play to the draft stock basically that they had, this could be a problem for opposing defenses because they could really bring up this offensive line skill level because the Falcons were a middle of the pack to lower third offensive line last season.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, honestly, when I look at them, I look at the Rams, oddly enough, with Gurley, and when that offensive line was producing, that offense was banging on all cylinders.
Oh yeah.
And now that this offensive line's back and going, they're banging on all cylinders. So.
I feel like the only way to make I feel like only the elite of the elite defenses can sort of slow the Falcons. Like I feel like you need to be like the Rams, where you have an Aaron Donald, and then you can still throw Jalen Ramsey on someone, to try and slow this Falcons team down. But I don't think the Bears are going to be up to it. I'm start all your Falcons. Bears side of the football. I'm starting Dave Montgomery. I'm starting Allen Robinson. That might be it.
No Jimmy Graham?
Yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
No, I'm going to leave Father Time on the bench. I know he's not like exclusively tied to that because there are a few contenders for Father Time in the league right now, but Jimmy Graham has got I actually don't know his actual age, but he's got to be one of the oldest players in the league, like up there with like Frank Gore and Larry Fitzgerald.
I mean,
I feel like I've been watching Jimmy Graham for like 15 years.
I feel like I've been drafting him since like 2011. 2012.
I mean, I know he
33.
So that's pretty old for a football player. So
still, it feels like it's been a decade since he's been Jimmy Graham.
He's got the Randall Cobb.
I mean, he hasn't been Jimmy Graham since he was with the Saints, and that was a hot minute ago.
That was when I drafted him in the first round.
But yeah, I don't think you can comfortably start any Bears aside from Montgomery and A-Rob.
Yeah,
that was 2014, by the way, when he was last playing for the Saints.
Yeah, I know. It was a hot minute ago.
Yeah, it was a long time. It feels longer than that. But no, like with the Bears, I think you just start your premium players that you drafted high, and that's about it. Because I'm not scared.
Like if you're hurting at wide receiver, maybe you roll out Anthony Miller in this one and just hope that Trubisky decides he can play this game. But I mean, I wouldn't count on Anthony Miller for anything. You're certainly not counting on Tariq Cohen. I mean, he's a drop candidate for me.
Yeah, honestly, Trubisky is starting to turn into a little bit of an Eli Manning to me. Poor quarterback play, but all of a sudden in the fourth he can turn it on.
Sure.
Like, he is the new generation's
and Allen Robinson is a good enough wide receiver that he can sort of take on that lead role where Eli could always support one receiver. You didn't want any of his other weapons, but no matter who it was, be it Victor Cruz or Odell Beckham, you always wanted Eli's number one because he would just laser focus him, and he'd get like 14 targets a game, and he'd always end up as a good wide receiver at the end of the season, put up solid fantasy numbers, and you would just sit there like developing ulcers during the course of the game because nothing gets done, and then in the fourth quarter it's like, oh, there he is. But yeah, that's essentially my takes on that. Next game, this one's actually one that it's a low total, but I'm open to starting more guys from it if you need it. 49ers Giants, 42-point total. Obviously, the Giants just got decimated on offense. The 49ers got decimated everywhere. I'm not really as scared of their defense anymore. For the Giants, I don't want to start. If I don't have to, I'm not starting any Giants this week. Definitely not starting Danny Dimes. I'm definitely not starting any of their running backs. If I need to, I'm open to starting Golden Tate or Darius Slayton.
Yeah, for me, this is on the Giant side of the ball. This is you start Slayton or you don't, or you're starting no Giants. Just because
I mean, Tate did get 5 targets and caught all of them last week. I could see him, and we know he's a good receiver. I could see him stepping into a bigger role with them missing both Sterling Shepard and Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I feel like this is the one where for DK, this could be the matchup that burns you because everyone shies away from it, and you could see 1 or 2 of those receivers just pop because.
Oh, I already told Frankie I'm gonna be starting a Giants line this week just to make sure I get exposure to it because I could see them being able to exploit this formerly formidable 49ers defense. Say that 5 times fast.
What? Bosa's gone. Sherman's gone. Like,
I mean, yeah, I would say probably their 2 best defensive players, both gone. So
I mean, 2 of the best defensive players in the league.
And then on the 49ers side of the ball, I mean, you're starting Kittle if he plays. Are you starting like you if you went out and paid for Jerick McKinnon, you probably have to start him, and that's why you paid for him. So you're probably starting Jerick McKinnon. You're definitely starting Kittle if he plays. Are you starting anyone else? I mean, Jordan Reed, I guess, if Kittle doesn't play, because we said on the waiver show that if Kittle doesn't go, Jordan Reed's obviously a good play.
Yeah, honestly, for me, I am tight end. You play just whoever tight end's playing, whoever the number 1 tight end on that team is, play them. If they're not, if past that, maybe McKinnon.
Yeah, I'm not like I'm flexing McKinnon if anything. Like
McKinnon's one of those guys though where you likely only bid on him if you needed him.
Yeah.
So if you have McKinnon now, unless you were just stashing him from the before times, before everyone in the league died. Remember way back in week 2, this time last week when we were all riding high.
There was a 1st and 2nd overall pick in fantasy.
When we all had our players with their uninjured ACLs and ankles. No, if you have McKinnon, you're starting him because you need him, most likely. Like I would say the majority, probably like 7 out of 10 fantasy managers don't really have a choice. And I think he could be good in this game. But I'm not excited for most of the plays in this game. Like I said, this is more of a DFS game for me where, I'm targeting some specific plays on DraftKings. I think they're going to be, sneaky blow-up spots, but redraft, I'd like to avoid it if I can. Bengals, Eagles, next game on the slate, 46-point over-under. I feel like this one's going to be boring. I mean, we've seen the Bengals look like a team led by a rookie quarterback. Burrow looks better than a lot of rookies, but it's obvious he's a rookie. And then on the Eagles side of the ball, I mean, Jalen Reagor just tore his UCL in his thumb or something like that, and is missing. I haven't seen how much time he's missing yet, but he's confirmed missing time.
It's like 4 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, it's a healthy chunk.
It's an extended period of time.
There's no Eagles left. The only Eagle I want to start the only 2 Eagles I want to start are Miles Sanders and Dallas Goedert.
I mean, Carson Wentz hasn't looked good.
Ertz is still there?
Dallas Goedert's look better than Ertz. I don't want to start Ertz. I'm probably starting Ertz if I have him because I don't know if you have a second tight end if you drafted Ertz. But I don't want to start him.
Yeah, the Wentz wagon hasn't looked great.
Wentz is droppable for me
all season. I think before, just watching some of the games, he doesn't look as good running the football. He doesn't look as comfortable in the pocket. I think he's just nervous out there. He also doesn't have anyone to throw to. I've never been a Carson Wentz guy just because while I think that Wentz is a above average quarterback, I don't like the options he has at receiver. Because for some reason the Eagles apparently could only draft guys that could hurt or only sign guys that could hurt.
I mean, to me, Wentz isn't on my team anymore. I'm streaming someone over Wentz this week. So like Wentz is not playable just because of how easy it is to find a streaming quarterback. I'd rather start Ryan Fitzpatrick than Carson Wentz this week.
Bold. I am not as far off of the Wentz wagon, mainly because of the matchup. I just think the Bengals are very not good. I think the amount of turnover, like this is not going to be a fun game to watch. I think this is just going to be like Wentz is not putting up. Don't get it twisted. I'm thinking like Wentz is going to come out here and put up top 5 numbers. Like he's going to come out here and he's going to be the QB 8.
So you're saying he's no Gardner Minshew?
He's no Teal Steel. He is no Teal Steel. But he is going to come out and I think he's going to have the ball so much because I think the Bengals are going to be punt, turnover, punt, 1 touchdown. Punt.
I don't know, man. That Eagles defense doesn't look great either.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to look great when you're always on the field.
I think this game's gonna end 17-13.
Yeah, I'm pounding the under on this game if I'm a betting man. Bengals. I'm starting Joe Mixon because I have to. I'm sitting all my Bengals this week, honestly. If I have the option to, I know AJ Green has been getting just buried in targets, but like he isn't catching them. He looks old.
Yeah, he looks old, and those targets aren't looking great.
Yeah.
He's getting a lot of poor quality targets.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter how many targets you're getting if it's like, well, I think he was targeting AJ Green on that. It was like 6 feet over his head and 2 yards to the left, but AJ Green was the closest receiver, so target. I'm not starting any Bengals aside from Joe Mixon if I can avoid it. You might have to start AJ Green or Tyler Boyd, but I don't want to start them. And like I said, on the Eagles side of the ball, I'm starting Dallas Goedert and Miles Sanders. And that's it that I'm doing with confidence. Texans Steelers. Hopefully this is gonna be a better game. I mean, this is probably gonna be another one where we just see that phenomenal Steelers defense just beat the bag out of Deshaun Watson. Like I almost feel bad for Deshaun Watson this game. I'll start with the Texans side of the ball because I think it's a short list of players you're starting. It's David Johnson, sadly, and Will Fuller, sadly. And that's about it. Like, I'm streaming over Deshaun Watson this week.
Yeah, Watson had a couple picks last week against Baltimore, I think, right?
I mean, Baltimore's another world beater defense this season.
It's
just like, it's clear that I don't think he's a bad QB, but I think Bill O'Brien doesn't know how to run a football team that doesn't have DeAndre Hopkins on it.
Yeah, he doesn't really have
I thought Bill O'Brien was a good-ish coach too. I want to say good coach, but a good enough coach. I'm seeing now that I was wrong, and he only looked good because he had DeAndre Hopkins for his entire career.
Yeah, that Steelers defense looks real good this year. Like they're back to the steel curtain of old.
I mean, I'm rostering Will Fuller in our primary league, and I'm benching him this week for DJ Chark if I can. If Chark doesn't play, I might have to put Will Fuller in there, but I'm considering starting Golden Tate over Will Fuller. I'm also considering Michael Pittman Jr. over Will Fuller. Because I don't... Like, the Texans' schedule is going to get easier, but I don't want to test the Steelers' defense. They've looked like world beaters. Like, no one's exploiting them. And like Will Fuller just put up a fat goose egg against a similar defense in Baltimore. Like I just don't want to test it. I don't know about you guys, but if I can, I'm sitting literally all Texans this week.
Yeah, I am not in on the DJ play this week. Melvin Gordon ended with a good stat line, but that was a tough stat line for him to get to, and he had to save that day with a
Speaking of a stomach ulcer play.
Yeah, that over the shoulder touchdown in the end zone.
That saved his day and like at least got you into double digit fantasy points. So at the end, like looking at your end of the day, you're like, 70 yards and a touchdown through the air. Like,
and that's why it's important to watch the games.
Yeah, like so when you look at the stat line, you're like, all right, he's looking fine. He ran like you might inflate him a little bit too much because you're like, Saquon couldn't run against him. Melvin could. No, Melvin had that was a rough game. So this is one where sit DJ if you can afford it, or
he might be the only player in this matchup on the Texans side of the ball where you can't afford to sit him. So like I said, DJ, I think you have to play him if you have him because it's just you don't have a lot of, unless you're like ridiculously deep at running back. You might just not have other running back plays, but like I'm trying to sit all other Texans. Steelers side of the ball though, I basically start all your Steelers. I'm fine with. I love Big Ben this week. I think whatever Steelers running back decides they want to play this week is going to be good. Probably going to be James Conner because Benny Snell didn't get much run last week. I am all in on Juju and Deontay this week. If you need like a deep spot start, I'm fine rolling Claypool out there. I'm not scared of this Texans defense at all.
Yeah, I mean that like
the Steelers look like the Steelers of old. Like Big Ben doesn't look like he looked a little rusty in like the first half of his first game. Since then, he's looked like vintage Big Ben.
I mean, even opening night, we saw Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs just kind of have their way with the Texans. They're like they have J.J. Watt, but it's like,
and we saw that the Texans are a very exploitable run defense.
Oh yeah,
yeah. J.J. Watt has not been J.J. Watt in some years. I mean, granted, it's due a lot to him getting injured so early in season, so he's basically sitting on the sideline for most of it. But
he's also more of a pass rushing threat than a run blocking threat because you can run around one guy. J.J. Watt can't be all over the place. So if you're trying to run against the Texans, I don't think J.J. Watt can still stop someone from running if they run directly into J.J. Watt. But if you're a team with any sort of offensive coordinating competency, you're just going to run away from J.J. Watt. And then he's on the wrong side of the formation, and he's chasing the running back. And James Conner's plenty fast enough to avoid him if he runs through the rest of that Texans defensive line. Like, I'm not scared of anyone on that line aside from Watt.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, this to me is just, it's going to be another very one-sided affair. It's a 45-point over-under. Yeah, just sit your Texans if you can. And then we're moving on from there to a game that I'm actually a lot more excited for, and one that I'm actually interested to see because I think this would be a good litmus test for the Rams defense. Rams-Bill, actually good litmus test for the Bills offense too. Rams-Bills, 47.5-point total. The Bills have looked really good to this point in the season, but they've played against two bottom 5 defenses. Maybe that's being generous. Maybe 2 bottom 3 defenses. And the Rams on the other side, their defense hasn't been superb, but they still have a lot of talent on that defense. You got to assume they're going to figure it out eventually. And they did force some turnovers last week. This is one where I'd be cautious about starting a lot of Bills. I'd be fine rolling out Josh Allen this week. I think he's going to have a lower total than he has in previous weeks, but I think he can still get you 20 because he can do some work on the ground as well as through the air. I'm rolling out Stephon Diggs. That's kind of it for me on the Bills side of the ball.
Yeah, I think if you need to flex somebody, look elsewhere. This Rams defense looks pretty solid.
Yeah.
I mean, and you don't really want to start running backs against the Rams just because of Darnold. It's kind of just...
You mean Aaron Donald?
Yeah.
Darnold is the quarterback for the Jets.
Same thing.
yeah, like...
You don't want to start running backs against the Rams because Sam Darnold will come break them.
No, just give him mono. It's fine. Yeah. But, no, yeah, it's...
I mean, they have held the Cowboys and the Eagles under 20 points. The Eagles aren't exactly a world-beater offense this season, but the Cowboys can score. And they couldn't even put up 3. They put up 17 against the Rams. So I think Buffalo is objectively a worse offense than Dallas.
Yeah, they're one. The Rams defense is one I've been trying to trump up a little bit for a while now. The only thing I'm sad about is they're not really producing in fantasy for owners. They're not really turning the ball over. They're basically just smothering a team and making them punt. And sadly, you don't get points for punts. But in this matchup, I'm very interested to see how Allen looks just because he looks so good. And I want to believe it's a mirage just because I've seen Allen before. I think this is his breakout season, but I don't see him maintaining anywhere close to the pace he's at. I think he's going to finish. This is his QB5, QB6 season where he more than returns his draft stock. So.
Oh yeah, no. Allen was someone who I was very high on coming into the year, and people were sleeping on him a lot in drafts. I didn't get him a lot this year because I actually got more Kyler than I was expecting, but I'm not mad about that. No, I am. Like I said, I think I'm interested in this game from a litmus test perspective because I think it's going to be a good barometer for how good this Rams defense is and how good this Bills offense is. And then on the other side of the ball, I'm also interested in this game from a Rams offense perspective. I don't think there's any Rams that I'm really scared of starting against the Bills. I'm definitely starting Robert Woods. I'm definitely starting Higbee. I'm starting Kupp if I have him because you drafted him too high to not start him. I'm starting Darrell Henderson if I spent fab bucks on him. I'm even streaming Jared Goff this week if I need to because I think Jared Goff could be a sneaky shootout candidate this week.
So with the running back situation, with Malcolm Brown potentially being back, he's questionable at the point. But if he is a go for this game, if the Rams say he's in, but he's still in with that questionable tag, what's your confidence level for Darrell?
Do I have both of them in this scenario,
No.
or is it just like
you're the guy who just spent out on Darrell?
I don't know, like if a 1 is like locked and loaded and a 10 is like shaking in my boots, I'm like a 7.
Yeah.
I don't feel good about starting any Rams running back because of Cam Akers also potentially could play. He had like separated cartilage in his ribs, but I guess he also potentially could play this week. I don't feel good starting any Ram running back because I don't have any inside knowledge. Sean McVay is not my brother. I can't call him and be like, "Hey man, what are you doing this week? Like, who's starting a running back?" Like, it could be any of them. But if I spent on Darrell Henderson, I probably have to start him. So I'm rolling him out there, and I'm just crossing my fingers. I'm not walking under any ladders. I'm punting black cats off a bridge. Like whatever I can do to avoid bad luck.
I feel like kicking black cats is not good juju.
Isn't that how you avoid black cats?
If they cross your
No,
path,
if they walk in front of you,
Once
you
they-
bad.
yeah. So you don't let them walk in front of you. Pick them up just right off the bridge.
I mean, technically,
PETA, don't watch this episode.
Why are you always on a bridge in this scenario?
I don't know, man. That's just like sometimes you find yourself on the bridge with cats.
those bridge cats.
Yeah. No, I mean, I wouldn't feel comfortable. I wouldn't feel like comfortable rolling out a Rams running back, but one of them is going to be good. You basically, if they all start, it's a 1 in 3 chance. I'll take those odds if I don't have any other options, or if my other options are like Jordan Howard or Darrell Henderson. It's like, all right, well, I guess I'm rolling out Darrell Henderson. Like, fine.
I don't know. Jordan Howard's got the most side in this matchup against Jacksonville, I think.
Yeah, no, like this is for me. This is basically you start your studs, sit. I'm fading most of the flexy type guys. Like this is not a matchup I'm too excited for. Zach Moss or Singletary. The Rams running backs, if you paid, you probably need it. So You're starting them in the flex at least. But if you somehow have, if you're someone who bought them because you know that there's value, I would probably look elsewhere.
I will also say, as far as litmus tests go, this is going to be a make or break matchup for Cooper Kupp. If Cooper Kupp lets you down here again, it's officially time to start panicking on Cooper. He was underwhelming through the first 2 weeks. This should be a fairly high scoring affair, I think, or at least back and forth enough where multiple Rams should be able to get involved.
Yeah, speaking of the litmus test, this is actually more for me. This is also for Goff. As I don't think he's a bad quarterback this season. I think he's played well. But for me,
Goff was worse. Or Goff is better than what he showed last season.
Right. He is definitely better, but his fantasy production is pedestrian for quarterbacks. So this is for me, this is a test to see if can he produce against a big defense. If I think they're tied. If Kupp starts going, I think Goff can start getting back to those 3-4 touchdown games that was winning you weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, this could be a matchup where I have to eat some crow, because if the touchdowns go to Higbee again this week and not Kupp, I might have been wrong on Higbee. So I'm just, for the sake of the take, I'm hoping for Kupp, but Also, I love Cooper Kupp, but
We all love the Cup.
that's going to do it for the first half of matchups. Join us tomorrow as we go over the second half of Sunday's games. Tell you guys about all of the interesting thoughts we have, because I think the other half of the matchups are much more tantalizing to me than the ones we just went over. Looking over the other ones, there's a lot more fun plays, I think, in the next half of them. So tune in then. We'll break that down for you. Hopefully give you guys some good plays that help you win your weeks. And I think all that's left is a beer check. I'm actually, because I've been talking a fair bit today. I'm still working on one.
I think we're all on one.
Yeah, I'm on one too. I'm down here though.
I'm right here.
Frankie is the winner then.
All right.
Actually,
I'm right there.
You know what?
Oh,
Yeah, it's
I think I got you.
Yeah,
Frankie. Give it a fair test.
no, you definitely got that.
all right. Vitale won a last word where the beer of choice was a double IPA. Mark this one in the history books, folks.
Yeah. Put that one up in the rafters, boys.
7:15 on September 23rd, 2020.
It happened.
Vitale, you have the floor.
I mainly kind of want to nerd out on this one a little bit, but to still bring it back to fantasy. I feel like I'm in a post-apocalyptic game. Like, this is Fallout right now. Like, I feel like I'm watching some movie where we're going through the beginning credits and there's some character walking through it, and as Ian put it, through the before times. Like, people don't remember what it's like. There's like statues of Saquon and CMC, and we're trying to remember what having these awesome running backs was like. And we're just walking through like, I guess Zach Moss is a running back one this week. And we're all just scared, sitting in our holes, clutching to what little running backs we have left. And when you get that trade request coming across, you're just like, get out of here. There's my running back. And you're just stabbing each other in the open field over Tevin Coleman. Like, what is this right now? Like, can we please develop something to just stitch ACLs? Like, some kind of, like, gun, you just open it up and duct tape it back together, because this ACL thing, it used to be just the death of running backs, potential career enders. We at least got it down to season enders, and then I figured we'd get to the point where maybe it was just a 5-week stint, but we haven't gotten there yet. So
I mean, Welker had that one where it was like 7 months. So
yeah,
I think that's the quickest.
It is just one of those things where I'm surprised. Like, I feel like this is one thing where humans, we're hitting a limit. It's just like running backs can only get so good, and then they just start ripping their knees open. We haven't figured that design flaw out yet. So we need some new meta human. Like, we need to take Matty Ice's ankles and, like, I don't know, some other guys with like amazing knees that just don't break. I guess George Kittle's knee, seeing how he went backwards and is ready to play week 3. Like, this is an unprecedented time for many reasons, both in fantasy football and out. And I hate it here. I hate 2020, and I'm so glad we're looking down the back end of this barrel.
Listen, you didn't even get any injuries. I don't want to hear it.
A few things to your points. Tevin Coleman is on the waiver wire in our league, by the way. Just thought I would let you guys know. Has anybody ever heard a good thing about an ACL?
I mean, yeah, they allow you to like make cut. They allow football to happen.
Yeah, those sweet jump cuts you used to see Le'Veon Bell do.
Hey, Frankie, if we didn't have ACLs, then sports wouldn't be a thing, because people would be like, I'm cutting now, and they would just fall down.
Well, no, what I was saying is, have you guys ever heard any good breaking news about an ACL?
I heard at least when Saquon went down that it might be a partial tear, and everyone was screaming from the rafters, yay, that it wasn't immediate, just they walked in the locker room like, well, that ACL's gone. Like, there's never been good news. It makes me sad. Even if I have one ownership of Saquon in a league I'm not too caring about. I'm still sad. Like, I want to beat everyone in my league at their best, and it always sucks because everyone's dealing with it in their own way, and you always just want to see what your team looked like at full strength. And I know, Frankie, you've been dealing with this with your wide receivers. You never got to see your team at full strength. I haven't yet, because I've had AJ Brown and then Miles Sanders, who are just juggling weeks. Like, you just want to see all your guns blazing.
I had to see Saquon against Pittsburgh, and then he died.
Yeah, I still haven't seen my third-round pick in Kenny Golladay.
No, I was joking. Last thought before we shut it down, but I was joking this week that, you know what? That's what my team needed. Saquon was dead weight anyway. Now I can start the true superstar on my team, Joshua Kelly. Love him.
All right, that's going to do
All
it.
right,
for us,
that'll do it
guys.
for us today. Join us tomorrow, us being me and Vitale, as we break down the second half of these matchups. Frankie has to go to work like a nerd. And we hope you all get week 3 victories this week.
And nobody on your team dies.